Here's the truth. Life was never meant to be done alone. You ever notice how easy it is to build up walls these days? There is so much division across the world. Politically, socially, personally, there's just so much division. Yes, we know walls can protect us, but sometimes walls also prevent us from experiencing the full richness of connecting with others. Walls might keep you safe, but walls can also keep you stuck. Walls can separate you from the people who are supposed to help you, as well as block you from the people who you're supposed to help, the people who you're supposed to impact. So in this episode today, I want to talk about what it means to stay open in a world that's telling you to close off. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Many Roads Podcast. I'm your host, Oba Okusanya, and I'm here to talk to you about connecting with other people. In this episode, I want to unpack what it really means to connect with other people in a world that's telling you to disconnect, in a world that's telling you to close off. You know, I was thinking about this subject and the subject of connecting with people and relationships. Relationships are such a huge part of human existence and the human, uh, experience, rather, is how I would put it. And it just got me thinking. I started to think about how in a world that has never been more technologically connected, there is also a lot of disconnection when it comes to human interaction. People are more connected to technology, but even all the more disconnected when it comes to relationships. You hear studies about how the rates of depression are on the rise, and the rates of loneliness are on the rise, and people are saying, I struggle to have friends and make friends, even though it's actually supposed to now be easier because we have the technology to make it easier. But unfortunately, that's not the way it's playing out. What we're seeing is that human beings are struggling to make genuine connections with other human beings. And it's also because there's things in society that have told us to put up walls. There's so much division, like I said, personally, socially, there's so much division across the world. And it's very easy to build up walls because you convince yourself that these walls protect you. And in some cases, they do. But when it comes to building relationships and connecting with people, walls don't do us any good. I like to think of this idea of walls, you know, in the sense that, like, think of this analogy real quick. Imagine that you live in a fortress, heavily protected. Yes, you're behind these huge walls. You feel pretty safe, and that's great. The only issue is you can't experience anything beyond those walls. You can't see beyond those walls. You can't feel beyond those walls. But you've convinced yourself that the safety, quote unquote, is worth the exchange of that interaction and connection with people. And it's never worth it. In the long run, we always find out that it's never worth it because life was not meant to be done alone. So, I remember a time where, personally in my own life, I had built up a wall. And I'll explain. Let's get into it. Story time, right? Um, I was working with an organization at the time, and I happened to report to a particular lady, and she was probably the worst manager I've ever had in my entire life. I mean, toxic, call it whatever it is, like a terrible experience, like all around. That ended, and ended up moving to a different company, and I didn't know that subconsciously I had built a wall around my life with regards to work, in the sense that I didn't want to connect with anybody at work, especially my manager. And as God will have it, because he has a funny sense of humor and a great sense of humor, um, the next organization that I joined, I also had a female manager over there. So it would have been very easy to just keep the wall up of, oof, that happened to you here. Yeah, just protect yourself so it doesn't happen to you here. And I remember in conversations with this new manager, we got talking, and I wasn't trying to open up or like really like talk. Of course, it's work. You don't open up all the way, but at least just be human, right? And I wasn't doing all of that. And she just said something that got me thinking. She shared with me how her previous employer and previous manager who she reported to had also been very difficult and very toxic and would berate her and would yell and really, really unhealthy things in the workplace that this lady did to her. And she let me know how, she's had to intentionally make sure that she doesn't transfer that sort of same experience from the previous place to this new place where she now works, where she's now my manager, right? And as she's telling me that, I was thinking to myself, this is exactly what happened to me. But of course, I didn't see anything. But it got me thinking about like you can't punish people in the future for mistakes that people in your past made. You can't do that because these people in the future have no idea what you went through, have no idea some of the things that you suffered through. But because we build up these walls to protect ourselves, and rightfully so, because nobody wants to get hurt twice. It's evolution. Nobody wants to get hurt twice. But in putting up these walls, you actually prevent yourself from connecting with people in the future. So I had to learn that one the hard way. And of course, it took some time and some intention on my part to ensure that, I opened up to a certain degree, of course, still professionally, it's work, but you know what I mean? Like to open up to a certain degree because I just had to get to a place where I understood that, oh, but that was the previous experience. And yes, it happened, but it doesn't mean that you should now punish these other people or cast the same sort of expectations on these other people who have no clue what you've gone through, who have no idea what you've gone through. So we do that a lot in life. We tend to sort of transfer expectations from different seasons and different employers and different relationships and different partnerships, and sort of subconsciously tell ourselves that if it went this way before, I have to protect myself to make sure that it doesn't go this way this time. But what you don't realize is that sometimes the way life works out, you end up being in a similar situation, maybe in a different situation, but in a similar setup. And it's almost a test to see if you will go the route of a victim who's gone through something like that, or you will go the route of someone who can say, you know what, I've gone through that, but regardless of all of that, I still find the good in people, and I'm willing to look at that. And that right there is amazing when you come out on the other side of it. But if you never do, you're stuck in a world where you're always playing defense. You're stuck in a world where your guard is always up. You're stuck in a world where you think everyone is coming for you. This is the world we live in today. There's so many walls up, and it could be draining, it could be demanding on your energy. It could be frustrating because you never really get to connect with other people, right? So that's the first thing. It's a world of walls that we live in. The second thing I wanted to point out here is also the fact that walls will limit your impact. I want you to think about the world, and I want you to think about the world as a globe, which it is a globe, right? I want you to imagine that you had a globe in your hands, the globe, like the world in your hands. And I want you to think about that picture for a moment. And I want you to picture the fact that for you to impact the world, you kind of have to be able to touch it. You kind of have to be able to access it. You kind of have to be able to connect with it and connect with people and access people. But unfortunately, if you end up building up these walls, you don't get the chance to. Walls will limit your impact. There's only so much you can do in a world that you're not connected to. Can you imagine me today deciding that I want to go into a community of doctors and talk to them about how they should better improve their clinical practices? I'm an outsider. I'm not connected to that world. Like there's no basis of connection there. So I can't impact them. But if I went to a group of project managers and said, hey guys, I just came across this AI tool that I used in one of my projects and it helped me do this and do this and do this, chances are I'll be more that the reception will be better because they're gonna be like, hey, he's one of us. He's connected to us. And that's the thing with walls. If you don't remove the walls, they act as barriers that limit your impact. And of course, people have walls of various sizes and different dimensions, you know. Um, but the end point of all of that is the same. If you put walls up, they will limit your impact. They will limit the amount of they will limit the amount of work that you can do, the amount of value that you can provide into the world, that you can provide people with. And this comes back to like that idea of vulnerability. Vulnerability essentially is tearing walls down. It's intentionally pulling walls down such that the thing that's behind the wall is revealed. And I want you to know that it takes a certain level of vulnerability across anything that you do to be able to connect with other people. It does. You can't live a life that's walled up on every side and complain that people are not connecting with you or that you can't connect with other people. They don't even know who you are. And they can't find out who you are because there's a wall. So walls will limit your impact. Did you know that over 70% of you who watch this podcast are not subscribed? Some people have even told me they were shocked when they realized they were not subscribed yet. So if you're enjoying this and you're back for more, I would love for you to take 2 seconds and hit the subscribe button. It's completely free. And honestly, it's the best way for you to support all that we're building here at the Many Roads. So do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, join our community, and let's keep growing together. The other point that I wanted to sort of make is the fact that because we live in an increasingly advancing digital age where technology is in overdrive in terms of progress and progression and the trends that we're seeing, there's much more of a departure from the natural and the scene and experiential kind of things, much more into virtual sort of spaces and digital spaces. And with that, I can predict and tell you this right now. What you're going to see in the next couple of years and hundreds of years from now is that people are going to start to value the human connection even more. People are going to crave the human connection. In a world where people are creating AI bots, talking to robots, they're chatting with robots, you cannot eventually, with all the technology in the world, you cannot duplicate the oxytocin, what's that chemical that's released in the brain that gets released when you connect with somebody. A robot can't do that for you. The way the human mind is wired and the way the body is wired, it's wired to connect with people, and it finds joy in connecting with people. There's no amount of AI advancement that's going to replace that. So what am I saying by saying all of this? I'm saying this: as the world continues to advance in technology in leaps and bounds, I might add, one thing that's going to become even the more prevalent, even the more valuable, is a human connection. And for you to have that human connection, you can't have walls up. You know, I heard someone say this. I think it was Gary Vee. I was watching a video where he was talking about the fact that he predicts that in a couple of years from now, businesses that are built on sort of providing services in the human connection are going to go all the way up. And he's like, you're going to start to see businesses where you can pay somebody to go on a walk with you. You can pay somebody to spend a day at the mall with you and just talk to you. And right now, that sounds crazy and outlandish, but with the way things are going and the trajectory of things, that's the way we're headed. And I hate to be that guy, but it is kind of true. You see it today already. You see it all the time. People are on their phones. People are, people are more involved online and virtually, and there's actual human beings in front of them that they're not engaged with. And I'm not saying this for like pointing fingers, because I'm guilty of this to an extent as well, even though I try to like actively look up and look around and see who's around, because I don't want to miss the human in front of me because I'm talking to a human on a device. You know what I mean? So all that to say this, as the world is increasingly dependent and moving over into digital spaces, the human connection will be valuable, and it's only going to increase in value. and it's only going to increase in demand. And you can't offer that if you have walls up. So I know I rambled a little bit about about these 3 points, but let's get into how to practically connect with people. You might be watching this and you're thinking to yourself, okay, Oba, like I don't have, like, how do I go about this? How do I go about making new friends? How do I go about connecting with people? Like, it's just, maybe you're an introvert and you don't even enjoy connecting with people, but you do realize that, but I do need people to a certain degree, right? The first thing I would tell you is to find a community that you can be a part of. Being a part of a community, being a part of a group that shares some common goals is an understated, is something of understated value. And you will see this as a trend today in business, where businesses are building communities around them. And those are thriving because people are craving that human connection. People are craving that opportunity to really, really, really connect with people and connect with others. So a community is a great place to start with when you're trying to find new friends, when you're trying to find people to connect with, people to do life with. The community is a great place to start from. So number one, find a community. Number two, I want you to find opportunities to go deeper. Number two, I want you to find opportunities to go deeper. What does that mean, Abba? Chances are the way life is set up and the way maybe your work is set up, there's people that you talk to, maybe at school, at work, at church, whatever it is. But everyone is so surface level in interaction. And I understand why, because you don't want people in your business. I get it. But if you don't find a way to go deeper into some of these relationships, of course, with discretion, you're not like going deeper with everybody on the street. That's not what I'm saying. But you have to find ways to talk to people, to really get to know people, to really get to ask questions and care, like actually care. And it's not just the, hey, how are you? And they're great. And they're like, oh, that's fantastic. See you next week. Like, how do you build a human connection off of that? You know what I'm saying? So, like, go deeper, ask questions. Hey, how are you? How was work? Um, how are things going? You know, what I realize is generations before us, like our parents' generations, they've done this so well and they continue to do this so well. They have these lifelong friendships that sometimes we as in our generation can get so envious of, because what do you mean you have a friend that you've known since you were like 12 and you guys are still buddies and you're in your 60s? That is cool, right? And, yes, there's still hope for us. We can do the same thing too. We can build this kind of relationships. It's not about the volume, it's much more about the quality of the relationship, right? So you're not going to build a quality relationship if you don't have a deep sense of connection. And that's what I mean by go deeper. Like, literally find an opportunity to go deeper with people, in the sense that connect with them, like really, really, really connect with them. The third point is this, and the third way that I feel like anybody can connect with other people is to be interested more than interesting. I'll say that again, to be interested more than interesting. A lot of us, especially us people who like me who are extroverts, when you meet other people, you're so focused on, I need to sort of play this perfect person. I need to make a good impression. So you're so focused on being interesting that you forget to be interested. And the way that you actually connect with people is to be interested. It takes a certain level of curiosity to, you know, ask the kinds of questions that makes people open up to you and that gets you to sort of now have a relationship with them, right? So rather than focusing on, oh, let me just say things a certain way so this person feels this way about me. How about you just focus on, in that conversation, I'm really curious about who this person is and what they do. I'm really curious about where they're from. I'm curious about their background. I'm curious about what they do for work. And that curiosity leads to you asking the right questions and leads to you asking the right trigger points, like I like to call them, because these trigger points will eventually lead to other things. So, for instance, you might meet somebody at an event and you say, "Hey, what do you do for work?" And then they go, "Oh, I'm into mining." You're like, "That is so cool. I've never met somebody who was into mining. What does that even look like on a day-to-day?" Conversation started, right? Like little things like that. These are like anchor points and hook points and trigger points, but they come from being curious. Journalists do this all the time. Interviewers do this all the time. I mean, people understand that by leading with curiosity, they're able to draw out information from other people. And you can use that to your advantage when it comes to connecting with people. So this is a short podcast. It's a short episode that I just wanted to sort of put out there in the world to help people understand that it's time to connect with others. It's not going to get easier. I promise you that. With the amount of technology that's being developed and being improved, connecting with other people for real is not going to get easier. It's going to be more difficult and it's going to become more valuable. So right now, wherever you are, today, start connecting with people. Break down the walls. Put the walls down. Like, put the walls down. I understand you might, and I'm going to speak from my heart. I understand you might have been hurt in the past, and that's fair enough. And the natural response is to put walls up. But by also putting these walls up, you rob yourself of an opportunity to experience the human connection, the love, the joy, the peace that comes with that. You rob yourself of that in the future. And you punish people in your future for mistakes that people in your past made. And they have nothing to do with it, right? So this is a gentle plea, a gentle reminder from your brother. Just connect with people. Put the walls down. Yes, you might have been hurt in the past, but not everybody is out to hurt you. This is something I tell somebody very close to me all the time. I tell her, not everybody's against you. Not everybody is. Some people genuinely love you, but you can't experience that love if your walls are always up, if your guard is always up, if you're always on the defensive. Anyways, so we'll leave it at that, right? In a world that's constantly telling you to protect yourself, I want you to remember this. Walls don't just keep people out, they also keep life out. Every connection you make with somebody else adds some depth, adds color, adds some uniqueness to your story. And yes, we'll be honest, I'll be honest, there's a risk in being open, but there's an even bigger risk in being alone. So take the first step, join a community, go deeper with somebody, be interested rather than interested, because at the end of the day, what makes life beautiful is the people that we do life with. So let me know what you think about today's episode. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so. It's your free way of supporting all that we're building here at the Many Roads Podcast. Till next time, God bless.